Salutations, friends and strangers of the interwebs! Welcome back to the channel, Stevie Wonder Woman. I am said Stevie, and today we are going to be talking about this bad mamma jamma right here. This is the Hoback Sumo button lock. So, very interesting knife that I thought I would share my thoughts and opinions on before I am having to send it back to the very awesome Satu Dave, who sent this in the badass case of knives for me to check out. So let's take a closer look, shall we? Alright, so taking a look a little bit closer at this Hoback Sumo. You know, my first impressions when I first got this out of the badass case of knives that Satu Dave sent me, I was like, oh, this is a small knife. And it had been quite some time since I had seen anything on the Sumo. I remember when it came out a while ago, and I'm sure I watched videos on it, but I forgot about it, in all honesty. It just wasn't something that, not that I wasn't interested in it, but I wasn't interested in it, so I kind of forgot about it. And, I think I thought that it was a small knife in the back of my mind just from the get-go. And I think even when I first said, oh, this is just a little guy. But it's really not. I mean, look, according to Satu's standards, this is a micro carry, right? But for me, I think it's kind of right in my wheelhouse. So going over some quick specs, I think they called this a 3.25 inch overall blade length, but when you're looking at sharpened blade length, you can see it goes right at the start of that sharpening choil, right at 3 inches. So you got 3 inches of cutting ability on a, I believe they're calling this a sandblasted stonewash in 20 CV. So, the blade is nice. You know, you kind of got that sheep's footy type look there. It does not have a crowned spine, but it does have, you know, these kind of... I guess is that a full flat or hollow grind there? Or is that a flat grind? Again, just when I think I know my grinds, I don't know what that is. But you kind of got that secondary bevel there. On there. Very, very nice blade. Overall length, though, you were looking at about 7.25 inches, which I guess that would give us a closed length of right around 4 inches. So it's not that small of a knife, Steve. Why did you think that? Let's compare it actually to the other two button locks that I got. So here is the Ferrum Forge designed, released by Drop, produced by ProTech Mordax. So if I could line them up let's line them up button to button, which almost gives us pivot to pivot. You can see it's not that much smaller. And if we take a look at the younger sibling of the Mordax, the ProTech Malibu, as you can see, they are very similar in size. I think you might have just a little bit more length there with the Malibu, but again, very, very close in size. And to me, this I would consider a full-size knife. In my standards, this is a full-size knife. To me, this is I guess, a standard size knife. So, when we're talking about the Sumo, to me, a 3.25 inch blade, a 3 to 3.25 inch blade, overall 7 to 7.5. I think that's a good shape for me, or a good overall length for me. The ergos are good. It's kind of got this little, little humpty hump there that allows you to... I got... Let's see if I can get with the camera. I got a full 4 on it. Not a lot left sticking out there, but I do get a full 4 on it. And when it comes to the ergos, so, this is how I would grip this knife if I'm doing something. Now, I can go back here with it, and you get a little bit of this, I guess, a little thumb pad there. But right there, is kind of where I lock into the knife. And this pocket clip, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second. Although I can... Did my camera just cut out there? That was kind of weird. Sorry, guys. Although I can feel the pocket clip, I wouldn't consider it a hot spot. So it kind of goes right into the middle of the palm of my hand. And, I guess it all depends on what your definitions are, right? But to me, a hot spot means that it's an annoyance. And it's not, to me. I feel it, but it's not an annoyance. So I think ergos are great. What else to say about this? So it is fairly light. I guess, since we're getting all specky here, let me pull out my scale, and let's toss this on the scale. 4.48 ounces. So you can see it's a lot, or it's an ounce and a half heavier than the Malibu, and it's still about a half ounce more or heavier, heavier than the Mordax, but again, 4.48 ounces. I mean, anything under 6 ounces, to me, I can barely feel in my pocket. So, whoops, a doodle. So, there is that for the specs. Length, we talked about the length. Did the size comparison. We did the weight. I should script this stuff out so I'm not just freaking rambling like a idiot. Let's talk about the hardware. I did notice that there are only 2 screws on this. Oh, I guess I should back up. We have DLC coated titanium thumb studs that also act as the stop on there. So I think aesthetically that looks great. We do have, again, DLC pivot there, which that's a very interesting pivot. Obviously captured there, kind of that, I don't know, honeycomb pattern, I guess. Again, blacked out or DLC titanium pocket clip. But when I was looking at the aesthetics of this knife, obviously you have the pivot screw there, which, by the way, is a T8. So you got a good T8 there. And then the only other screw is the pocket clip screw. So I'm not going to take this apart, but I think that that's nice with having minimal body screws on there. So I want to say that screw goes all the way to the other side. So I guess you can still kind of, it's not that you see a screw head on there, but it does go all the way through this backspacer, which is also a very interesting backspacer. I don't think that the backspacer is titanium. I want to say that this is some, I don't know what it is. Maybe it is titanium. It feels plasticky, but I guess maybe that is titanium. All right, disregard that. It is. Maybe it's got to be. It's not going to be G10, right? Man, again, maybe I should have looked at this type of shit. But it does run the full length of there, minus just that little spot that your thumb would land on. And I also discovered, I heard that there was, it's got a hidden flipper tab. When I looked at this, I was like, I don't get it. But there is, right there. So you have the thumb studs to deploy. But then you also have right here, this little, it doesn't work the greatest though. I mean, it does deploy the knife, but you can fail it for sure. I failed it just messing around with it more often than not. So there's that. I don't think I would use that very often. It doesn't make much sense to me. It's cool that it's there, but to me, this is a thumb stud or middle finger flick. But again, the backspacer, I'm really digging there. Textured, you don't feel it in hand. Um, let's talk about let's talk about the pocket clips. So I think it flows really well with the knife. I initially was like, what? That's kind of a weird pocket clip. You can see it does have a little bit of a ramp on there, but getting this in and out of pockets. So I carried it for a couple of full days. Getting it in and out of pocket was extremely easy. I don't have any problems with this pocket clip at all. I think it's different than any other pocket clip design that I have on knives. Just where, again, it just goes across the top side of the handle there. But I like it. I think it's good. And I'll show you carryability here. I will use my, this is a Steel Capital back pocket knife roll, Hank. Shout out to Steel Capital. So, as you can see, carrying, again, because of the way that ramp is, it gets right past your pocket, slides right down in. And this is acceptable in my carry standards. Now, I will say that anytime it's not full deep carry, I'm going to fifth pocket carry this, just so I don't get it scuffed up. When you get into the truck, it's going to rub up against the center console. If you are, anytime you're sitting up in and out of a booth or up against the wall or something, you got the possibility of scuffing that up. So I do prefer a deep pocket carry when I am going to carry as my primary. This would be carried in my fifth pocket, compared to, say the Mordax, to where, that's more of a true deep carry because of Protec's clip on there. But I think that the clip is fine. I don't mind the clip, and I thought that it carried really well. Let's talk about this action. It's great. It's absolutely great. So as I mentioned, obviously it's got the button lock as your lock, and then you have these thumb studs there that allow you to easily access and thumb flick it or middle finger flick if you want to look cool. Someone just said the only reason why people do that is so they can look cool. F those people, if that's what you think. But then there is no button stick at all. So one of the things that was prominent on both my Malibu and my Mordax out of the box was button stick. It took a long time for these to break in. I've had these both for a couple years now, so I have no button stick whatsoever. I don't know how long Sawtooth's had this, and if that was a problem, and if maybe he fixed that, but this one doesn't have any. So obviously you can just deploy it using the button lock as well. But, you don't have, you got just a little bit of play in there, but it's got, you got a good detent on it as compared to, I guess, yeah, I'd say it's about the same detent as these. Well, the Mordax is definitely a little bit lighter than the other two, but this has got a good detent on it as far as I'm concerned. Again, just a little bit of play. I think that's natural, though. Once it is deployed, though, you got there's no side to side, up and down. This hasn't, I don't know if he Loctited that or not, but I have deployed this thing, I don't know how many times, in the week plus that I've had this, and the 2-3 full days that I carried this, I have fidgeted the shit out of this thing, and the pivot hasn't walked at all. So I think that this is a very well constructed knife. you have a little bit of, do I have my light on here? No, I don't. But you can see there are some milled internal pockets there. Yeah. I don't know why I just decided to point that out. I've already talked about the weight and whatnot. Again, I should probably be more professional and start scripting something. I know a lot of guys do ergos, carryability, blah, have a list. I gotta start doing that. Top downs really aren't my thing. But I got to, if I'm gonna be reviewing a knife, I should probably give it a better go at it than this. So, sorry, folks. But again, that's what you get with Stevie. So, let's talk overall aesthetics. I think that this is a phenomenal looking knife. Oh, it's also, I haven't talked about, which adds to the aesthetics. It's got this notch, kind of Vero-esque, not completely build through. Fuller, kind of nail nick-ish thing. I don't know what to end up calling that, but you can absolutely flick it from, middle finger flick it from that. You can, you can do the 5-finger challenge on this. So I got pinky, ring, middle finger, index finger, and okay, maybe not. Yeah. All right. It's a good looking knife, guys. I think it's a fantastic looking knife. I think overall, this is a pretty badass knife. I think it looks badass. I like it in this colorway. So that's all I have to show on the top down. I'm gonna switch back up top, and we'll talk about my final thoughts. If I could find where my cursor is. There we go. Okay, so was that as brutal for you guys as it was for me? I felt I really kind of botched that, and I was getting really annoyed at myself. I'm going to start trying to script out some stuff a little bit more, just so if you guys are going to spend your time watching this, I'm not just a rambling, bumbling idiot. Maybe you guys don't think so. That's the critique on myself, though. I felt that was not my best effort, and I apologize. I'm still going to release this, though. Anyway, so final thoughts. This is a made in the United States knife, again, designed by Jake Hoback. The only experience I have with Hoback prior to this is I have a half a dozen or so Ferrum Forge knife works, their early mid-techs that have the Hoback rolling detent on it, adjustable detent. So I know that he played a role in that, but again, a great U.S. designer. I also not sure if I mentioned, but you probably guessed, this is writing on bearings. I realized I didn't say that, but so all that being said, is this a knife that I want? Just based on what I talked about, not getting into price yet? Yeah, I would like to own this knife. But this is a $550 knife. Now, maybe you can find a better deal on one of these. I think that they're maybe predominantly sold out or not. Maybe this version was. I think you can probably still get them in a couple different colorways. $550 for this knife. That's a pass for me. I like this knife. I'm very glad I got to spend some time with it. $450. It's a little bit more palatable then, but I mean, if that's what you have to pay for a great U.S. design work, and look, there's a lot of detail that went into this knife. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I don't know. That's a hard one. It's not something I would just jump out and buy. This is something that, are there probably a couple knives in my collection that I could sell off to fund this knife? Okay, thinking about it like that, yes. If I sold off a couple in my knife collection, I probably have, I don't know, I'm sure that if I went through my collection, I could find a couple that I would want to sell off to trade this. Do I have two $225 knives that I could sell to get this? Okay, so now that I'm thinking about it like that, yes. But off the initial price tag, that's a steep price tag, man. So, but this is a phenomenal knife. I really appreciate Satu allowing me to check this out. Again, shout out to Dave. Yeah, so I give the knife an overall, I would give this a solid 8 out of 10. I can't give it a perfect score. Nothing's going to get a 10 out of 10. I have a couple things I would give a 10 out of 10. It's tough to get a perfect score. Maybe if it was just a little bit deeper carry, and in my opinion, if I'm scoring, look, it's a great knife. I think aesthetics are perfect. I think the blade shape is great. The action is phenomenal. It just, I don't even know if I talked about that, but, this is as drop shut as it gets. Push the button in and it falls. It's a great knife. And I can see it being very useful. If this was the only, look, if I can get by only carrying the Vox, or the Urban EDC F5.5, which I absolutely can. This has been my primary carry knife many, many, many times. I could get by with this. So for that, so Stevie, what should I buy this? Yes, you should buy this. If you can afford this knife, if you're looking for something that is, again, made in US, great design, titanium, great blade steel, and 20 CV, button lock, great action, very fidgety, and very practical, I'd say go for it. But it comes with that $550 price tag. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. That's all I got for you. Until the next one, deuces.